Imagine standing in total darkness inside a cold Eurasian cave 50,000 years ago. The fire at your feet is dying, fading into dim red embers. Outside, the freezing Ice Age wind howls through the valley. But above the sound of the wind, you hear something that makes your blood freeze solid in your veins. A high-pitched, manic laugh echoing through the dark. It doesn't sound human. It doesn't sound animal. It sounds like a demon mocking you from the shadows, knowing you are trapped. You scramble on your knees, blowing desperately on the dying embers, trying to create a single spark of flame. But it's too late. Out of the pitch-black void emerge glowing yellow eyes. Not just 2, 4, 8, 20 pairs of glowing, hungry eyes surrounding your cave entrance. You are looking at the ultimate night terror of the Ice Age, the cave hyena. Crocuta spelaea. Weighing over 250 pounds, this wasn't the small, scavenging coward you see on nature documentaries today. This was an absolute nightmare, built by evolution to crush the ancient world. It was twice the size of a modern African spotted hyena, built with massive, muscular shoulders, thick necks designed to drag heavy carcasses, and bone-snapping jaws with a bite force of over 1,100 pounds per square inch. To put that into horrifying perspective, an adult human's bite force is barely 160 pounds. A cave hyena didn't just bite its prey, it obliterated it. Its conical teeth were engineered to shatter thick arm bones, split skulls, and crush femurs like dry twigs just to swallow the rich, fatty marrow inside whole. If a cave hyena caught your arm, it didn't just tear your flesh, it dissolved the bone beneath it into splinters. And the absolute worst part? They were nocturnal pack hunters. They didn't hunt alone. They moved in coordinated, highly disciplined clans of 20 to 30 individuals. Relentless, terrifyingly loud, and utterly fearless. They hunted in the dead of night, when early humans were blind, shivering, and completely defenseless. For hundreds of thousands of years, Europe and Asia were not ruled by human bravery. They were ruled by the bone-crushing jaws and demonic laughter of the cave hyena. In modern archaeology, there is a famous and chilling concept known as the bone cave effect. In places like Kirkdale Cave in England or Srbsko Cave in the Czech Republic, paleontologists uncovered massive underground caverns filled with thousands of fossilized, crushed bones. Mammoths, woolly rhinos, cave bears, and the cracked skulls of human children. These dark caverns weren't places where ancient humans lived and sat around fires telling stories. These were the butcher shops and dining halls of cave hyena clans. For hundreds of generations, humans were not the top predators. We were the takeaway meal, dragged by our feet into the dark to be consumed alive. Think about our biological reality back then. We had nothing. A chimpanzee, our closest living relative, can climb 30 feet up a tree in seconds and possesses massive, sharp fangs. Yet hyenas still kill chimps regularly today. Compared to any predator, humans were biological jokes. We were 3 times weaker than chimps. We were slower sprinters. We had terrible night vision. We couldn't smell a predator stalking us from 20 feet away. Our hearing was mediocre at best. We walked upright, which made us towering, visible targets on the open plains. And our babies cried constantly, broadcasting our exact location to every hungry killer within a 5-mile radius. By every single law of natural selection, early humans should have been wiped off the face of the earth within 50,000 years. But we weren't. We survived. And the giant monsters that hunted us are all gone. So, how did a hairless, flat-toothed, weak primate defeat a 200-pound bone crusher that held every biological advantage? The war against the cave hyena didn't start with weapons. It started with cold, calculated psychology. Early humans began observing the beasts instead of just screaming in fear. We realized that despite their horrific bite force and terrifying pack numbers, cave hyenas possessed one deep, hardwired evolutionary weakness: a primal fear of fire and unpredictable light. Humans stopped hiding passively in the back of pitch-black caves waiting to be eaten. We took the offense. We brought the fire outside. Humans began building massive, roaring, defensive rings of fire, known as fire perimeters, around our sleeping camps. To a nocturnal predator whose eyes are hyper-specialized to amplify the faintest light in the pitch dark, the sudden, blinding glare of a roaring bonfire completely destroys their night vision. It blinds them instantly. The fire created an invisible 30-foot safety zone. Step inside the light, and the predator's predatory instinct breaks. When a pack of 30 cave hyenas surrounded a camp at midnight, laughing, snarling, and trying to intimidate the tribe, humans learned a crucial lesson: never run. Because to a pack hunter, running triggers the chase instinct. Running meant instant death. Instead, humans weaponized their voices, rhythm, and unity. Entire tribes stood together at the edge of the firelight. They didn't panic. They banged heavy wooden logs against hollow rocks in a rhythmic, terrifying beat. They screamed in synchronized unison. And most importantly, they threw burning wooden embers directly into the faces of the pack. To a wild animal, fire is unnatural. Throwing fire meant humans held the power of lightning in their hands. But defense only kept us alive for the night. To win the war, we had to take their homes. Ice Age Europe was brutally cold, and natural shelter was scarce. Deep, warm caves were the ultimate real estate. For thousands of years, cave hyenas occupied these shelters, raising their cubs in safety. Humans decided it was time to evict the monsters. Humans developed smoke warfare. We would track a pack back to its den during the daytime when the adult hyenas were sleeping or drowsy. Instead of charging inside with weak wooden sticks, humans piled wet green wood, moss, and animal fat at the narrow mouth of the cave and lit it on fire. Massive clouds of suffocating toxic black smoke poured deep into the cavern systems. The trapped hyenas, blinded and gasping for air, were forced to charge out through the narrow, smoky entrance one by one. And waiting right outside the cave mouth were teams of human hunters armed with heavy obsidian spears and crushing boulders. We cleared entire dens in a single afternoon. We also turned their hunting paths into death traps. Humans noticed that hyena packs followed rigid, predictable trails along animal migration routes and riverbeds. So we dug deep, tactical pit traps directly across their night paths. We lined the bottoms of these pits with fire-hardened wooden stakes, sharpened to a lethal point. In the dead of night, while the hyenas thought they were stalking human scent, a secondary team of human sprinters would flank the pack from behind with blazing torches and roaring war cries. Panicked and blinded by the flames, the proud pack would sprint headfirst down their familiar path, crashing 10 feet down onto the sharpened stakes below. When a 200-pound hyper-carnivore is impaled at the bottom of a dark pit, its dominance vanishes instantly. The remaining human hunters would stand safely along the rim, systematically hurling heavy obsidian spears down until the threat was completely neutralized. Year after year, decade after decade, humans didn't just defend themselves. We systematically hunted the hunters down. We eliminated their cubs in their dens before they could mature into killers. We outcompeted them for giant game like woolly mammoths, wild horses, and bison, starving their massive clans out of existence. By 14,000 years ago, as the Ice Age came to an end, the giant European cave hyena went completely extinct. The ultimate bone crusher of the prehistoric world was gone forever. Or was it? Take a look at the modern spotted hyena roaming the plains of Africa today. It is noticeably smaller, far more cautious, and deeply terrified of humans. Why? Because locked inside the genetic memory of every living hyena on Earth today lies the terrifying ghost of the Ice Age. They carry the ancestral trauma of the weak, hairless ape that used fire, obsidian, and ruthless collective intelligence to wipe their giant ancestors off the face of the planet. When a modern lion kills a carcass in the African savanna, a pack of modern hyenas will boldly fight the lion to steal the meat. But when a small group of human tribal hunters, armed with nothing but simple wooden sticks, walks directly up to a hyena kill, the hyenas back away instantly. They give up their food without a fight. They remember who won the war 50,000 years ago. Evolution gave every predator a terrifying physical gift. It gave the hyena bone-crushing jaws, night vision, and pack ferocity. But evolution gave humans something far more dangerous: the ability to adapt, strategize, build technology, and pass down knowledge across generations. Every biological weakness forced us to invent a tool. Every primal fear forced us to build a strategy. For 2 million years, we heard their manic laugh in the dark and hid in fear. But in the end, humanity got the last laugh. You carry that exact same blood, that same survival instinct, and that same problem-solving DNA inside you today. Never forget where you came from.